Hello, my name is Jill Nitch, and this is my presentation for Module 13, Tort Liability. Tort liability is an actionable or civil wrong committed against one person by another that is independent of contract. If injury occurs as a result of actions of school personnel, liability charges may be filed. There are two types of tort. One is intentional tort, which requires intent or willfulness. Examples are battery, assault, slander, or defamation. Unintentional tort does not require intent of willfulness. Negligence comes into play with unintentional tort. An example is failure to exercise a reasonable standard of care. My first case is Munn versus Hotchkiss School. The school went on a trip to China, and while on that trip, a 15-year-old girl was bitten by a tick in a forest, and she ended up coming down with encephalitis, which caused serious neurological damage, leaving her unable to speak. Parents argued that the school failed to warn them of their daughter coming into contact with disease-bearing insects and did not notify them and her to bring the appropriate clothing. School lawyers argued that the parents knew the risk because they had signed a written release in advance of the trip. The court found that that release did not cover the school, and they awarded the parents $10 million in economic damages and $31.5 million in non-economic damages. If this happened at my school, I believe the same consequences would have happened. I feel as though the school would look closely at policies regarding school trips, especially out of the country. The school probably would change the wording in their policies as far as in-state or out-of-state and out-of-country. The student should have been notified of the risk of contracting a disease. Professional ethics would have benefited the teachers by assuming the care as if the students were their own. If they would have told their own students to bring appropriate clothing, they should have told the rest of the students on the trip. My second case is Mitchell versus Cedar Rapids Community School. A 14-year-old special ed student who was in the 9th grade and a 19-year-old boy who was in the 12th grade, also a special ed student, were dating. The students had been seen by a teacher kissing and holding hands in the hallway. The teacher had assumed that the risk was age appropriate, did not know that it was a 19 and a 14-year-old. And she had testified that if she saw something like that, she would inquire as to the relationship with other students. The school also had a computerized attendance system that would notify the parents the evening of an absence during the school day. The 19-year-old boy did not have a last period class, and he talked the 14-year-old girl into skipping that class and going back to his house with him. They both walked to school, so while they were walking to the boy's home, they stopped at a friend's house and ended up going into the garage of that friend's house where the 19-year-old boy raped the girl. The mom of the daughter sued the school for negligence, saying that the school should have prevented the student from leaving. They should have had buzzers at the door to alert the teachers of somebody leaving, and they should have notified her immediately of the daughter's absence. The jury found in favor of the mother, finding the school negligent, that they failed to adequately supervise the girl. They awarded $500,000 in damages. In awarding those damages, they also found that the school was 60% at fault and that the girl did have some fault, and she was at 40% fault. One reactive measure that would be taken would be to update the attendance system to allow the parents to be notified sooner of a student's absence. That would also be a proactive measure. I would think that the parents probably should be notified immediately if they do have a system like that to whether or not their student was absent. In the case, the teacher talked about how she would inquire about teenage relationships, and I think to be professional, she should probably not do that in the future. My next case is Johnson Johnson versus the School District of Millard. It was a first grade class, and they were in music and learning about the song London Bridge, and the teacher wanted to teach them a game associated with it. She brought up two students to demonstrate how to play the game. The game's played by two students locking arms and then placing a third student in their arms and then swinging them back and forth. Johnson, a first grade boy, said that he was swung fast and hard by his classmates, which then they accidentally released their hands and sent Johnson into a bookcase. He testified that he had asked the students to stop several times before this had happened. It was also found during the course of the case that the teacher was not supervising like she should have been, and she had her back to the class and was writing on the blackboard and did not see the incident happen. The injury caused a cut above his right eye and required 50 stitches and caused blurry vision and headaches for a time after. The jury found in favor of the student, citing that with the teacher's back to the class, she could not supervise like she was supposed to, and that her limited instructions of the game were not appropriate. The court awarded the student $1,226.10 for medical damages, $15,000 for permanent disfigurement, and $5,000 for pain and suffering. I don't feel like there could have been any reactive measures or proactive policies to put in place. The only reactive measure could have been that the teacher should have supervised like she was supposed to and not have her back to the class. My next case is Baratek versus Millard School District. At this school, there's a mandatory golf lesson that the students participate in PE class. This lesson was moved inside because of rain. During the first lesson, the students are taught how to grip the club and properly swing. Baratek was absent the first day, so he was struggling to know how to grip the club and swing properly. He asked another member of his group to help him. The member came over and showed him how to grip the club and told him that he was going to show him a few practice swings. When he was showing him how to grip the club, Baratek was against the bleachers. And so the student, when he started to show him the practice swings, thought that he was still against the bleachers, but Baratek had moved closer. So when the student followed through on his practice swings, he hit him in the head, which ended up resulting in him dying. There was a policy that the school had written up regarding the spacing of the groups. One person was supposed to be down at the end of the bleachers and two more people were supposed to be down at the other end, so that there was only one person swinging a club at a time. And this was not followed. At the time, there was a student teacher in the class, and the student teacher did not know that policy existed. And so he was helping one student while the supervising teacher was cleared out at the other end of the gym. And the supervising teacher did not realize that the student teacher was just helping one student, so he did not supervise the whole classroom. The court found in favor of the student because there was not proper supervision while this was happening. They awarded $53,570 in damage to the school. I believe that if this would have happened, the teacher that was not supervising like they were supposed to might have been suspended. There didn't need to be any preventative policies made because there was already a policy in place. They just didn't follow it. As far as ethics go, the supervising teacher should have made sure that the student teacher knew the proper procedure and policy. My next case is Mosley versus Portland Public Schools. The plaintiff was a student at one of the Portland Public Schools and was stabbed with a knife during lunch period. The school does have 2 security officers, however, none were present in the lunchroom at the time. The plaintiff was suing the school for lack of supervision, failure to stop the attack with a knife before it happened, and failing to prevent weapons from entering the school, and failing to stop the attack while it was happening. The placement of the security guards was a policy that the principal had came up with, and in the policy, it did not state for them to be in the lunchroom, so that's why they were not in there. The jury found in favor of the school district, citing that there was insufficient evidence to support the claim that the school district was negligent in not stopping the fight. I believe that immediately the security guard needs to be in the lunchroom and that there could be a few more teachers added on lunch duty. I do believe that the policy should be changed to show the fact that the security officers need to be in the lunchroom, because most likely at that time that's where a majority of the students are going to be. Here are my resources. You can feel free to go check them out, and thank you for watching.